these developments that have upended U.S. foreign policy. Joining us now is James Stavridis, a CNN senior military analyst. We are so excited to have you on board. Retired Admiral is the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander and a partner at the Carlyle Group, a global investment firm. Admiral, thank you so much for taking the time to join us now. If you could respond to, now the Pentagon saying that it's going to stop counter or offensive cyber operations against Russia, as well as these comments from Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesperson today, saying this new administration in the White House is rapidly changing all foreign policy configurations and it largely aligns with our vision. How are you interpreting all of this?
Both very worrisome. Let's start with the cyber side of this. Our reporter has it about right. It's not unheard of to kind of hit pause when President Obama, for example, was traveling in different parts of the world. We might alter some of our operational patterns. But the idea that we would particularly stop planning offensive cyber and secondly, talk about, hey, we're not going to do this in a move to try and create reconciliation with Russia, I think that's the wrong signal to be sending right now. In terms of the comments from Peskov, as you know very well, Bianna, he is very elevated in the Kremlin world. He's one of Putin's 2 or 3 very closest advisors. So when you hear from him that, everything feels very aligned, I think it gives real credence to what the senator was saying a moment ago about the deployment of effectively Putin talking points. Both of those are very worrisome.
Just in terms of the fallout from what we saw in the Oval Office on Friday, I think the question a lot of people have, especially in Ukraine, is just given what is at stake. I mean, the future of their country is really at stake at this point. How on earth does Zelensky salvage his relationship with President Trump? What does he need to do?
I think first and foremost, he needs to shore up his alignment, and I think he's done it pretty well since that disastrous meeting with the Europeans. And the Europeans are stepping up by and large. Not every European country is, but certainly France, Germany, hearing the most from the United Kingdom. You're seeing him there with the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. So shore up your allies that you can count on. I think number 2, he needs to try and reinvigorate the minerals deal because the Trump administration is nothing if not transactional. So starting to move that deal back toward the conversation would make some sense, perhaps doing that in concert with those European allies you see standing there. And then third and finally, I think from a personality perspective, he should be able to communicate in ways that are not offensive to the Trump administration. That doesn't mean, nor should there be, in my view, quote, an apology, unquote, but certainly him sending signals of willingness to continue the conversation, willing to come back to Washington. Mineral deal can work. I'm here with my good friends in Europe. I think getting behind that idea of transatlantic unity before it all falls apart would be his best bet.
When you hear the UK Prime Minister say that part of their peace plan could include European boots on the ground and planes in the air, how realistic is that in your view without a specific U.S. backstop?
I think if the Europeans want to do it, even without a U.S. backstop, they are capable of doing it. Let's just do the numbers for a minute, Bianna. The population of Europe's 500 million. Russia is 140 million. The defense budget of Europe collectively is around 350 to 400 billion. Russia's about 150, 160 billion. The Europeans have about 2 million troops, active duty, well-trained. Russia has about 1 million, and half of those are deeply engaged in a war. So the capacity is there on the part of Europe. The question is the political will and the unity there? We'll know more of that in the days and weeks ahead.
As you know, ever since the fallout after Friday's meeting, Macron and Starmer have been scrambling. I mean, they've really stepped, you and I were talking about this earlier, they've really stepped up to the plate, especially Keir Starmer, who right away invited Zelensky to the UK. In fact, he already had a planned meeting with him. He just moved it earlier and then gave him an audience with King Charles as well. France and the UK have come together to propose a partial 1-month potential ceasefire deal in Ukraine. They still need to take that to the US, though. I mean, we talk about European leaders taking charge, but all roads still go back to the United States. They still need the US support even for that. What is America's likely reaction to that going to be, do you think?
Zain, I think that ultimately, if the Europeans really come together as they're capable of doing, not only UK and France, but Germany, Poland, the Nordics, the Baltics, all of whom are strong supporters of Ukraine, send that signal back to Washington, couple it to the minerals deal, which is important to Washington, and show a willingness to put more of their capacity on the line, as I was just talking about with Bianna. If they do that, I think there's a better than even chance that Washington ultimately will see its way forward to be part of that peace negotiation. Don't forget, Donald Trump wants peace, not only for his personal prestige, he's put a lot of commentary behind this, but also the global economy. If we want that to continue functioning, we have got to avoid major cracks developing in it. I think the incentives run somewhat better than even for Washington to come together. Again, key, the European unity. Let's see how that develops in the next 2 to 4 weeks.
Can't believe I have to ask you this question, but how confident are you of President Trump's commitment to NATO and specifically Article 5?
I'm worried about both. And I'll tell you, as a former Supreme Allied Commander, I wrote a piece the other day called "The Last Days of NATO?" ? I hope I don't have to redo it and take the question mark off. You're showing the alliance right now. I think that there's still a strong value proposition for the United States in favor of being in the alliance because of all that capacity we talked about a moment ago, because these are partners who share our values. I think Trump is a skeptic. I don't think he's a skeptic. I know he's a skeptic, but I'm hoping that value proposition ultimately holds true. And if it does, he'll have to stand behind Article 5 in order to make that real.
I believe that officials in Poland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania all were reading your op-ed very carefully and with alarm. Retired Admiral James Stavridis, we are so thrilled to have you here at CNN, and please, please, please become a regular on our show. Thank you for the time.
You know I will, and one of the reasons I wanted to be aligned with CNN is because of its international footprint. I'm proud to be on with both of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.